comes from executive producer Lilian Garcia. Every athlete is on this quest. Every performer dives in head first, battling real-life challenges and overcoming obstacles in an effort to make their dreams reality. Singer, speaker, and 15-year WWE host Lilian Garcia was the first woman to ever announce WrestleMania and is now the PFL MMA cage announcer. Oh, yeah! And now she's giving you an all-access pass to the human interest stories of elite athletes, extraordinary entertainers, and wellness experts. Now, let's embark on another fascinating journey of chasing glory with your host, Lilian Garcia.
Welcome! Okay, that was because I didn't want to scream a big welcome because I'm very, very excited about today's show. So I decided I was going to whisper it so I don't kill your ears, but welcome! I am very excited about this show. Welcome to Chasing Glory. Yes, we have none other than Kevin Owens on the show today. Very excited to share his story. But first, I just want to thank you for joining us here at Chasing Glory podcast on Instagram, at Lilian Garcia on Twitter and Instagram, and Lilian Garcia official fan page on Facebook. And, speaking of Instagram, if you guys looked at my Instagram, a couple of weeks ago, I posted a photo of me jumping rope. I've been jumping rope for many, many years now. I did it as a kid. Obviously, I think a lot of us do. And then I grew out of it. And one day I was watching a boxer jump and I was like, man, I want to do that. I picked up the jump rope. Oh my God, it was so bad. I didn't even last a minute. It was so bad. I was jumping really weird, really high. I was like, did I ever jump rope as a kid? And is this the way I used to jump rope? So I actually confronted him and I asked him, hey, do you want to teach me? And sure enough, he was like, yeah, sure, I'll teach you. Mark Jenkins, big shout out to you. Actually, I don't even know if he was a boxer, but he jumped like a boxer. So therefore, I thought he was. I don't even know. But anyway, I saw him not too long ago, by the way. We ran into each other after like 10 years or so that we hadn't seen each other. But yeah, so he taught me all these tricks. So much fun. He taught me the proper way to jump. It took me a while, but I saw that you guys viewed it over like almost 100,000 times. So I just felt like compelled to talk about it because it did lead me to thinking about how many times do we not do something because we think, we're not going to be good. Like it's really hard to start, right? It's really hard to start. But if you stick with it, you will get your groove on. And that's what happened with me. I actually got really good at the timing of my feet and my hands, and it became very natural. And I'm going to share more jump rope videos with you guys because you have commented that you would love to see more tricks and kind of learn. So I will be doing that. But it did lead me to wanting to do something that I kept saying that I was going to do. And I kept putting it off and putting it off. And then finally one day I was like, you know what? You got to listen to your own song because my new song called Now. Yeah, it says, take action now. So I was like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and sign up for the class tomorrow morning. And I did. And it was amazing. It's silks. A lot of people call it airflow, aerials. But yeah, it's those silks that hang from the ceiling, and you just do all these things with it. And so I posted a video of that on my Instagram and just wanted to let you guys know that, hey, if you want to start something, just start it. And probably going to be a little easier than you thought, or it might not be, and it's okay. You can stick with it. But it is all about taking action now, which leads me to the request that so many of you have been sending me why I have not played my new song on my podcast. I don't know. I didn't even think about it. I just really didn't even think about it. So I thank you for staying on me. My mind is on so many things that, yeah, Josiah Williams and I did a song together called Now, and is all about taking action now. Hopefully it inspires you as much as it did for us to write it. And I guess I'll go ahead and share it with you right now on the podcast, and then we'll continue with the Kevin Owens interview. So here you go. Here's my new song. You can download it on iTunes. You can download it on Spotify. You can download it anywhere that you can get your music. Josiah Williams and myself with our new single called Now.
As the night falls all around me, I try to see what's the truth I can hold on to wholeheartedly. I try to accept that things don't matter, that life is the way it should be. But somehow my spirit feels so shattered, prisoner that won't let me be. Let me be. Let me be. It won't let me be. Just let me be. So I gotta finally wake up now. It's time to finally get undone. Won't stop. My life can't keep waiting around. It's now. My only fears are the echoes in my mind. They repeat with pure seduction, so full of lies. And even though I can change direction, my past keeps haunting me. Fear is the enemy of intention, a bondage that won't set me free. I can't believe what I'm told, or I can't achieve it, go show. That I have a dream in my soul, it's all up to me. So I gotta finally wake up now. It's time to finally get undone. Won't stop. My life can't keep waiting around. It's now.
I don't wanna hear a dark voice on the side. I don't wanna struggle with the way I spend time. Everybody tell me that I gotta go big, and instead of being bold, I'm walking a thin line. I don't wanna hear fairy tales, sick lies. Tell me what I need to grow on the inside. Even in those times when I don't smile wide, I can say at the end of the day, I still try. I have never seen a day perfect, but I know that I can walk with a purpose. Nobody can determine my worth, so I turn around and tell everybody that I'm worthy. Many times I would feel closed out. Many moments when I should have spoke out. Now I know that my faith's so strong, I will never back down, and I have no doubts. Yeah, it shows on the inner and outer. Every moment when darkness encounters negative thoughts, yeah, they keep getting louder. Look in the mirror, say I got the power.
I gotta finally wake up now.
Wake up, yeah, I gotta wake up.
It's time to finally get undone. Won't stop. My life can't keep waiting around.
I can't wait, can't wait.
It's now.
It's right now, right now. Yeah, it's right now, right now.
Man, that was a labor of love for me. Definitely was something I wanted to do. It was a long time since I released a single. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I definitely enjoyed doing it with Josiah. I'll tell you the story on how that got put together. But, you know, after years and years of not singing, and I had trouble with my voice and I couldn't figure out why, and then found out that I was exposed to another place, because I'd already been exposed 20 years ago, but to another location of a home with mold, and had high levels of mold. So that was hindering on my vocal cords, which doesn't help when you're a singer. But I was like, okay, I have to do something, and I have to do it now. I have to get back in the studio now. And so the idea of now really was all about that, like taking action now. So I just wanted to hopefully inspire you guys. And then when Josiah was doing videos for me for Chasing Glory podcast and listening to his talent, I was like, man, I actually would love to have him on the single. So I approached him with it. He loved the idea, and we put it together, and I just am so excited. I hope you guys are feeling it like we are, because we've decided to do an entire EP now coming off of this single. So spread it around, let people know, share it with your friends. Hopefully, like I said, it inspires you to take action in your life now, whatever it is that you're holding back on, and push past your fear. All right, so thank you for that. And let's get to the review of the week. And this is on Apple Podcast. If you get to be picked for the weekly review, you get into a drawing at the end of the month. We choose a winner for an 8x10 and also a either Chasing Glory t-shirt or a Lilian t-shirt, whichever one you want. All right, so this one is titled Carrying On Fred Rogers' Dream. Oh, Fred Rogers. That was Mr. Rogers from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Hi. What you are doing is awesome. We need to understand that all of us need to hear, let me help you. At a girl, at a boy, and most of all, we need to stop and think that what we say and do might have somebody else commit suicide or hurt themselves. You are carrying Fred Rogers' dream and what he set out to do all those years ago when he started his show. May Ashley's family and you and all your coworkers find some peace. God bless you. Viva la raza. Wow, that's beautiful. That was from Elisa Sigmund. I think it's Sigmund. Elisa Sigmund, thank you so much. You are the winner of this week's review pick. And so you're going to be put into the drawing. I appreciate that. Wow. You know, that really does remind me. I've watched the movie, Mr. Rogers. I don't know if you guys saw it. I can't remember if that's the name of the movie, but it was all about Mr. Rogers. What a film. Wow. It was really, really good. So I will tell you to watch that if you guys haven't done that already. So thank you, Alyssa, for that. All right, guys, you ready? You ready? I know I am. Kevin Owens is somebody that I was very fortunate before I left to work with for some time, and watching his talent just immediately when he hit WWE, it was like, wow, this guy can not only wrestle, but he can really talk. He has that whole package. And I actually like that he had a different look as well. And we go into that into the interview. We go into why on his 365, if you guys watched it on the WWE Network, very powerful, but you can see that he's not ever fulfilled in a way. He's got a hard time being fulfilled. And so we go into that in the interview. So we go into a lot of things in here. Get ready, prepare yourself, spread the word, subscribe, 5-star reviews. Thank you for that. And also keep those reviews coming. All right, without further ado, here is Kevin Owens' journey of chasing glory. Being brought up in the province of Quebec, Kevin Owens would grow up playing sports, but would not be relatively passionate about any specific one. Not necessarily looking for a passion, his father would rent a tape of WrestleMania 11, and his life was changed forever. Kevin Owens knew he wanted to be a professional wrestler after that day. Being from Eastern Canada, French was his first language, and would actually learn English from watching Monday Night Raw every week. After getting permission from his parents, Kevin would begin his pro wrestling training at the age of 14 and would receive his training by former WWE Intercontinental Champion Jacques Rougeau and would have his first match on his 16th birthday. Kevin would begin making a name for himself on the independents with his crisp and hard-hitting style. He would wrestle for some of the top promotions such as Ring of Honor, CZW, and PWG, and would win championships in nearly every promotion he wrestled in. He would even win tag team gold with Sami Zayn, who he met very early on in his wrestling career, and would become both a loyal teammate and a fierce rival. After wrestling over a decade on the Indies, Kevin Owens would achieve one of his lifelong goals by signing with the WWE, where he immediately made an impact by destroying a familiar face in Sami Zayn and becoming the NXT champion. While champion, he would go on to answer an open challenge on Monday Night Raw laid out by John Cena, which resulted in Owens defeating Cena in his very first match on the main roster. He would soon get promoted to Raw and SmackDown full-time, where the accolades continued. He would go on to win the Intercontinental Championship, the United States Championship multiple times, and would reach the pinnacle of the WWE when he became the second ever Universal Champion. His battles with Chris Jericho, Sami Zayn, and AJ Styles, to name a few, have been legendary, but he has also been able to showcase his personality, which has been seen in the highly acclaimed Festival of Friendship segment and has gained the trust of the WWE officials by being reliable both in the ring and on the microphone. Recently, injuries took a toll on Kevin, where he was forced to take some time off to rehab. However, Owens has come back better than ever and continues to remain an important factor of WWE programming. There is no doubt that he will continue to achieve any success that he puts ahead of himself. It's about to get real, raw, and inspiring with Kevin Owens. Well, here we are.
Hello.
So excited because it's finally happening.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been in the making.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah.
You know what they say is like it's like a good cake or something that's been like brewing and creating. Now we get to eat it too.
Oh, now you're putting pressure on me. I gotta deliver.
No, man, I've been wanting to get your story for so long, especially since I saw 365 on WWE Network.
Yeah, a lot of people had thoughts on that one.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was your first instinct? Like, did you watch it back?
Yeah.
What did you think?
I think I wish we had more time to flesh out how weird that whole period from WrestleMania to, I guess, when the end of 365 happened. That was a really weird couple of months for me because, you know, obviously a lot of people talk about that moment with Vince at WrestleMania when he wasn't happy with my match.
Yeah.
And a lot of people tend to make fun of that moment, actually, on social media and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah, because what they show is just me going up to Vince and asking, are we good? And he says no.
No, yeah.
But there's a lot more to it than that.
Can you talk about it here?
I think a lot of it probably needs to stay between Vince and I, actually, to be honest.
Okay.
But it wasn't just that night. There was so much over the months that happened after that made me question myself as a performer, maybe question my place in WWE, and then ultimately affected my life in every aspect because I'm so passionate about this. You know, I'm just lucky I had a very supportive wife at home that was able to deal with all that stuff because that was a really rough patch, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, the 365 only gave a sample of it, which, you know, I didn't want to, I wouldn't have wanted it to be too, how could I say, too negative either, the 365, but I wanted it to be real. And ultimately, I think the people that edited it found a good balance between everything, but those couple months were really rough.
So the whole slogan of the show is real, raw, inspiring.
Yeah.
Because I always think the more real you get, the more raw, right? We go in, it ends up being inspiring because there's so many lessons in that down pit, that struggle, that roller coaster that you say you were in.
Yeah.
So can you take us into what was going through your mindset through there?
Well, so I guess the weirdest part of it was that up until that point, everything was going great for those first years there, or whatever, year and a half. You know, I started in WWE, I was working with John Cena right away.
Yes.
And we were killing it.
Best matches ever.
And then amazing. I kept going up, you know, and then I went from that to the Intercontinental title, to working with Dean Ambrose, to, you know, my first WrestleMania, and then me and Sammy had our story together, and then the Universal title. So it was like everything seemed to be going up and up and up, just like anybody in this industry would want it to, you know? And I would always come back to positive, literally always come back to positive feedback until that one night, and then everything switched. And then it was like trying to catch up. And at one point it felt like, and I'm not saying like that other people or Vince or anybody else were making me feel this way. I just felt like I wasn't doing anything right. Because I was trying to find myself, you know, after WrestleMania, after that match, I tried to kind of change things about my personality or my character or whatever, and even the way I wrestled, to try to be more in line with what the company needed me to be or the show needed me to be. But it was hard because I wasn't finding it. And, I'll be, if anything, I still feel like I'm struggling to find it, because there's a balance between what I was for those first 2 years and then what I've been since, and what I guess the show needs me to be, for the people in charge. But it's hard for me to find that balance. So it's been a struggle since that moment, I'd say. And a lot of it is really hard because I take it home with me, which I had to learn to stop doing.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't fair to my kids, it wasn't fair to my wife, and I'm very lucky because they're incredible and they supported me. But, when I'm home and all I'm thinking about is what happened at work last week and what's going to happen this week, it's just not fair to them, you know? So thankfully I've gotten a lot better at that part. But yeah, it was just kind of rocky and just a bit of a environment or a situation I wasn't used to, because even before WWE I was always kind of used to getting somewhere where people wouldn't expect me to succeed or do as well as I would, and I was always pretty confident that I would do it, and I always managed to do it. So I was never faced with that kind of adversity where somebody told me, like, you're not doing it right, it's not working. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was challenging, and
Does that make you grow, or does that make you also frustrated? Because if somebody says, this is not exactly what we need, but they're also not telling you what they need, it's like, then I'm kind of grasping in the air.
Yeah. I would like to say it made me grow, but I don't think I can say that. I think if anything, like I tried to grow, but I don't know if I did. The thing about me is I'm always trying to think of how to contribute to the show as good as I can. And I guess that would be true of everybody else, or almost everyone else. I don't know if everyone thinks about this the way I do, but I think a lot of the most passionate performers we have think about how to contribute to the show, or how to, bring the best they can and to the product. But it doesn't necessarily mean that's what they need or their vision. Like the ideas I've brought forward, that some of them have worked, some of them have not. Like some of them weren't used, stuff like that. But that's all contingent on them seeing me the way I see myself. And a lot of times that's not, for certain situations. And there's so many factors that, it can be something else is happening on the show. There's another story we're telling right now that makes it so that we can't tell that story because it's too similar, or it's taken elements from something we're already doing or we're going to be doing, or it's not right for you. You know what I mean? So there's so much to contend with. So I guess part of the growth that I maybe did achieve through all that, the adversity or whatever, or the switch that happened, is I learned to accept things better. It doesn't mean like I agree with everything. It doesn't mean that everything sits well with me, but I've learned to kind of just get over it better. And again, my wife might be here and tell you the opposite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she might still think that I could be even better at getting over stuff like that. But I think I'm getting there at least.
I think the thing that we need to look at is why this means so much to you.
Yeah.
Why does it mean, what is it about this? What is it about wrestling? What is it about your performance in wrestling that it does hit you to the core, where you're thinking about it all the time, even when you're with your kids, with your wife?
So I guess the answer would just be, up until I was 11 years old, I literally had nothing. I would play hockey, I'd play baseball, soccer, all these sports, and just nothing really clicked for me. I was good enough at all of them, but I couldn't see myself doing it for a long time. I really wasn't enjoying it that much. And then, I remember being in 4th grade and being asked, what are you going to do when you grow up, right? That's a question every kid gets asked a million times a day. And, literally I remember one specific moment where I'm sitting there and we're just doing little presentations and they're asking us, and every kid answers the same basic answers that cowboy, astronaut, policeman,
doctor.
And when they got to me, I had no answer, I remember my teacher, she was an older lady and she wasn't very patient with her kids, to be honest.
Yeah.
So when I had no answer for her, she got very annoyed. She's like, oh, come on, you're a kid. You gotta want to be something, a superhero or whatever. And I'm like, well, I just didn't have an answer.
Yeah.
And up until I was 11 years old. And then my dad, I had seen wrestling before, but when I was 11, my dad got a tape of WrestleMania 11 at the, VHS he just rented it from the local video store. And then we watched it, and then that was it. I didn't even really want to watch it with him at first. I remember that. But then I was walking in the kitchen as he put it on, and I could see into the living room, the TV, and it just grabbed me. So I sat down with him, and about 2 hours in, I was like, that's what I want to do for a living.
Wow.
Do
you remember who was on?
Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
When that realization happened, it was Shawn Michaels, no doubt. But the first wrestler that I saw that grabbed me was British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. Like, he came out, he was just this super jacked guy who was doing super athletic things and throwing around these big dudes. I'm like, man, this guy's cool. And then, as the show went on, I just appreciated everything I watched. And then Shawn Michaels, because at the time I was 11 years old, I was really scrawny, pretty small kid. Like, I remember people used to think I was 7 or 8, even though I was 11. So when Shawn Michaels, the smallest guy on the show, came out and ended up being by far the best wrestler on the show, I was like, oh man, if he can do it, then I can too. And then from that moment on, I told my parents right then and there, that's what I want to do. And instead of, trying to convince me to, because that sounds like a crazy thing, right? So most parents might say, oh, come on, that's just not realistic, whatever. They actually cultivated my interest. They started buying the pay-per-views. The next day my dad brought home more VHS that he went to the store to get. And, they never tried to discourage me one bit. They embraced it. And that was it from that point on. And then I'd say from 11 years old to, that was 1995 to 2006. My entire life was wrestling. I didn't care about anything else. And then, I started wrestling in 2000 and training and just...
At 16 years old,
yeah,
right?
I had my first match on my 16th birthday. But I actually started training when I was 14.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I had my first match on my 16th birthday, and then every ounce of energy I had would go towards wrestling. Every thought I had was towards wrestling. You might want to say I was a late bloomer because of it. I didn't care about girls. I didn't care about anything else. Literally, that's all I cared about. And then, I started traveling in 2003 for wrestling. I started getting booked on independent shows in the U.S. and traveling, and things were going well. Then I went to Japan in 2005, and then I went back to Japan in 2006. And at that point, I thought, this is going to be my life. I might never make it to WWE because I'm not one of the guys, I'm not, especially at that time, I don't fit their mold. Even though I knew in my heart that I could make it. Yeah. I was more okay with not making it because I'm like, man, I think there's another way to make a living off of wrestling. But then I met my wife, and then that changed everything. Because up until I met her, I really didn't care about anybody or anything else. Yeah. So then that changed everything. But wrestling was still, very important to me, obviously, because it was still my dream and what I wanted to do to make a living. But then, I met my wife, we had our son. It became about taking care of other people as well. And trying to make them, besides my parents, who they were so supportive of me. And that's probably part of why I was so obsessed with it, is they were so behind me from the start. I really didn't want to let them down. Not that I would have, if I hadn't succeeded, they would never held it against me. But all they ever asked was I give it my all. And that's literally all I did. And then, from the point where I met my wife and we had our son, obviously it was about taking care of them and making them proud and just...
A lot of pressure.
Yeah, I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I think my wife would tell you that too. My parents would tell you that too. But I don't know. The pressure also comes from the passion I have, because I remember what watching WWE would make me feel. These things, it shaped me into who I am. These moments, I have so many moments in my head that will always be with me because of what I was watching, and I'm so desperate to create moments like that for other people.
Do you realize, though, that already in your career you've done that?
I'm lucky because I get a lot of feedback from fans that tell me stuff like that I've it's true of me and a lot of other superstars, obviously, every other superstar. Fans say we matter, we help them in situations that we're not even aware of, and we're important to them for so many reasons. And I know how they feel, because I felt the same way for so many of the superstars that I grew up watching. But it's hard to value or to realize the impact we have on those fans, I guess, when we're in the moment, and it's one moment will happen and then I'll be ready to move on to the next one, and I barely appreciate it. Personally, I barely appreciate the moments as they go by. My wife will tell me all the time, you were the Universal Champion, and I had never seen you more stressed and more, and then now I look back and I think, oh, yeah, I probably would have done things differently when I was Universal Champion if it had been up to me. Some storylines might have been different, or I would have done different things, or I would have loved to have this match and stuff like that. But ultimately, I was still the Universal Champion. Yeah. And I honestly don't remember enjoying it, which sucks. So now that real, and besides my wife and my parents telling me this stuff, it comes from other people. Like I had a talk with Shawn Michaels, who's the reason I became a wrestler.
Right? Yeah. To turn around and have a talk with him.
Yeah. So, and Steve Austin, same thing. After Shawn Michaels, for me, it was Steve Austin. They were my two favorite wrestlers of all time, no doubt. And now I have access to both these guys, and we've spoken about, wrestling and my career and just various things, and they've both told me. But I remember the Shawn Michaels conversation specifically because it was the night after Bobby Lashley took me out on TV and I was going away for surgery. And I was going to be gone for, who knows how long in October. And I was telling him about how I was looking forward to the time off, not even to really heal my knees, but to heal my head. Not physically, but mentally, because for 4 years it had been nonstop and it was just, it was draining. And he told me, he was saying, I was kind of like you, where I took everything home and I was always obsessed with this stuff. But trust me now, I'm telling you, I wish it wasn't that way. Yeah. And so during those 5 months off, I really tried to assess how I'm going to come back and get to enjoy the moments I get. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm trying to do that every day, while at the same time still trying to contribute and find ways to create those moments. But living in the moment, and I mean, it's not just Shawn. I had a talk with Vince at some point around that period too, and he really said the same thing. I told Vince, I'm never happy, but that's because I always want more. And he's like, well, it's okay to always want more, but you got to find a way to be happy.
I mean, it's funny you're saying that quote because when I was watching 365, I remember this quote you said, I'm kind of never happy with my career. Yeah. I always need more. Yeah. I always need bigger, and I always need to go higher. Yeah. Now, to me, it sounds like it's almost like you're chasing a drug, right? You're chasing a feeling. Whether it's a feeling or whether it's I created something, I am somebody, what I'm doing matters. So I kind of wanted, when I saw this episode, this was where I was like, whoa, I got to do a Chasing Glory story on him right away. Because I want to get to try to understand a little bit, and maybe it helps you understand, right? Because this stuff gets created early on. A lot of this stuff gets created early on. Right. So tell me who you were as a kid. I know you're in Canada. Yeah. Freezing. My husband's Canadian, by the way, so I love Canadians.
Where's he from?
Winnipeg.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe in Jericho.
Even colder than where I'm from. Yeah. So I grew up in Maryville, Quebec, which is just a really small town, about 45 minutes out of Montreal. But, you're asking me who I was, and I really have no answer up until the time I was 11 years old and I discovered wrestling. Because I don't remember. I don't remember anything from that.
What do you mean?
I mean, whatever I was up until, and whatever, you're 7, 8, 9 years old, once you're 35, your memories, whatever, but I don't remember what I liked. I don't remember what I did until I started watching WWE. I really mean it. I know I played hockey. I know I played soccer. I know I broke my leg when I was 11 and, my bones came out through I remember that playing soccer. I remember bits and pieces from that, but I don't remember. And, it's not because I had an amazing childhood. My parents were incredible.
That's awesome.
But I don't remember any specific things from before I was 11 years old. But I remember the time my dad got the tape. I remember the first WWE show I went to in person when I was 12. I remember my mom taking me to this local wrestling show on a baseball field in a festival. It's a thing that happens every summer in the area where my mom works or used to work. It's the Corn Festival, which is just people go there and eat corn, and there's different events around.
We have the Okra Festival in Irmo. I get it. We eat okra.
And the one thing they did yearly was have a wrestling show, and it's all these local wrestlers. Yeah. But she had heard through somebody at her work that one of the wrestlers there had a wrestling school, and I was 14. And I remember that. And we went to that show. And I remember specific moments from that show, which was, 20 years later.
Yeah.
Why do I remember this stuff? Just because it was like milestone moments for me. But up until I was 11, I really wasn't having those moments.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just, like, I remember my pets. I remember, my brother and I would fight a lot. But, like, my memory of everything up until I was 11 is so hazy because it's like it didn't matter till I realized, oh, man, I'm here for this. It's wrestling, And then, I can't really answer that. I was just a kid going through life looking for something to do, I guess.
But something you said really sparked in me when you talked about that teacher when they asked, what you want to do, what you want to be. Do you remember the feeling of what it felt like not knowing what you wanted to be?
I actually kind of remember, so I remember being pretty easygoing about everything up until that point, which is funny because of how passionate I became for wrestling, which is how I knew this was it. Because I would play, so my brother was a very talented hockey player. And I played hockey, and my parents loved hockey, so they put me in hockey from a young age, and I just played hockey because why not? I'm in Canada, I'm going to play hockey. Yeah. But I didn't love it. And, I remember sometimes if I wanted to be really good, I could be really good. Like, I'll remember specific moments where I'd take the puck, skate, get around all the players, put it in the net, and, like, my coach was like, why can't you do that more often? Because I just didn't care. Yeah. So most of the games I'd play, I'd be pretty lazy and just kind of skate around, not really trying to get in there, and my parents would just lose their mind saying, why can't you just play? And then once in a while, I don't know what would happen, I'd be, okay, now I'm going to do it. And then I would do it. Not that I was a fantastic player or anything, but when I wanted to apply myself, I knew I could do good things, but I just didn't care. Yeah. And then I would go play soccer, and it was the same kind of thing. I enjoyed it enough, but not enough to care. And then I played baseball one season, and I stopped because sometimes we'd have games on Monday nights after school, and I wouldn't get home in time to watch Raw. So I remember one time, it might have been my first game. We finished the game, I asked my parents what time it was, and they're like, oh, it's 8:58, and Raw came on at 9. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna miss Raw. So I just ran home. I didn't even wait for my parents to put me in the car. I ran home. It was about, I don't know, a 10-minute run, and I got there and I remember showing up and watching Raw, and I had missed the first match. And it was Legion of Doom. I remember being furious. So, you know what I mean? I just didn't have that passion. I just didn't care, really. So not knowing what I wanted to do, like not having an answer to, hey, what are you going to do when you grow up? It was fine. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like I was weird or anything. I just didn't care. I just figured. When I found it, I knew. That's it. And my parents did too. My dad, I remember, did an interview for my DVD that WWE put out. And I remember him saying that. He's like, once he found wrestling, he became a completely different kid. Because now I was driven and passionate about something which I had never been before.
Which is what the world always talks about. Find your passion. When you find your passion, you'll be great at it. Yeah.
And I meet a lot of people in life that never found it.
Yeah. We're the lucky ones to have known what a passion is.
It's very unfortunate when people don't find their passion. Anyway, that's all.
However, which I think is great. Great lesson, right? But I think it's also very unfortunate when you find your passion, but you can't enjoy it 100%.
Yeah. I mean, none of it's perfect. So now it's trying to figure out
how to make you enjoy it.
I guess part of it too is part of my frustration, or not frustration, but my I don't know how to put it. I want to say resilience, but it's not resilience. My obsession, almost, I don't know, is everywhere I went in wrestling, I did better than what people expected me to. And I'd say I probably did better in WWE than people expected me to already. For the first 2 years, anyway. And now, I'm still featured on every show. I'm still in main events more often than not. But I'm still, right now, I can tell you I'm not where I want to be. I want to be doing more. I want to be contributing more.
What does that mean? What does that look like?
I wish I had the answer.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Well, I just think I could be, I don't want to say a bigger part of the show because I'm already a big part of the show.
Yeah.
I just want more.
But do you know, if you can't pinpoint what that looks like, That's why they say like vision boards are so important, right? Having visualization, writing it all down. What is it specifically? And be very, very, very specific when you write it. Then the universe doesn't know how to get you there. Because a lot of this is, whether you believe in God or you believe in the universe, whether you believe in nature, whatever it is that you believe in, if you 100% don't really understand where it is that you want to go, that force can't help you.
Yeah, I get that. And I mean, it's true, right? Even if you don't really believe in this whole putting it out in the universe thing, right? And I don't know if I do. I really don't know. I'm not saying I don't believe in it. Maybe I've never stopped to ask myself that. But I see what you mean. Like, if you don't even know what your own goal is, how are you supposed to get there? Yeah. But, that's just...
because I think in a way, the fact that you've been maybe in this pattern of I want more, I want more, I want more, is it almost a little bit of a habit you've gotten into?
That could be. It
really like you're not really wanting, like you could be content, but you've convinced yourself that you keep having to want more.
It's funny because, I feel like maybe the ultimate goal is gaining perspective. Because once you have perspective, you can make everything work, I think.
Yes.
And I feel like once in a while I'll be on a drive and I can actually speak of a certain moment where I felt like I had that moment. And I've had, since February when I returned to now, I've had so many of those moments where I feel like, I finally gained perspective and now I can let go and just enjoy myself. And that lasts about a day. Okay. Until I'm questioning it again. But I remember I was driving to a show and I was in the car alone because I travel by myself. And I called Paul Heyman to just talk about wrestling. Yeah. And I was venting to him about how unfulfilled I felt and how I felt like I could be doing more. And he listened. And then he told me, listen, you can either enjoy what you're doing now or you can find the exact way to get to where you want to get to. And you might not get there, but you got to try. But nobody can figure it out for you. And if you feel a certain way, you got to tell the people that you feel can help you get there how you feel, and then they'll tell you either it's possible or it's not possible, or here's why it won't happen or how it could happen. But until you figure it out yourself, how are you going to make it happen? And then I hung up and I thought about what he said. And I was like, oh man, I think I've got it now. Like I felt the release. I'm like, I don't have the answer to what he asked. I don't know where exactly I'm looking to go. I just wish I could be going somewhere else. But if I don't know where I'm going, then just enjoy this part and it'll come along. And then I'd say that might have been the time where I was the most comfortable for in terms of being in my own, stop not being in my own head so much. I was like, okay, I spent maybe 3-4 days being like, I'm fine with whatever happens. And then, the next week I was back to maybe we could do this instead, or maybe we could do it this way. But, the end game is never clear. So
it's the journey, right?
Yeah.
It's never about the destination.
Yeah.
I know.
And then it's funny because you saying that is true, and then it makes the journey, if you don't enjoy the journey, you certainly won't enjoy the destination. Yeah. Yeah, it's all very tricky. And, one of my best friends, Jimmy Jacobs, who used to work here as a writer, in my DVD, again, the same one I was talking about with my dad earlier, he says something. He says, Kevin's passionate and it's a blessing, but it's also a curse. And I don't, honestly, maybe I just never
Well, that's what I think it is. It's
because
you're so passionate, which is so awesome. And again, it's a beautiful thing because it's made you get to where you are, especially because I want to talk about this too, when you don't have the mold that everyone thinks you have to have, right, to be here. So that passion has been awesome, but it's about being able to control that passion in a beautiful way. I think it's just that. And I think that you have more control than you think you do.
I might.
Because it really is our thought process.
Yeah, that could be true as well. I just haven't found the way to...
well, it's a forever journey, I know.
Yeah, right.
The mind is a forever journey. Yeah. So let me ask you about that, because the mold. I talked to Rey Mysterio. Yeah. And he said there was nothing that I could do about being small. There's nothing that I could do. It was this, but people were looking at me going, there's no way, he can't do it, he's too small, he's this and that, and he just kept going, no, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do, and now we know the story of Rey Mysterio, right? then there's also been the females. There's certain females that were maybe a little stockier that looked at the diva era and said, can't fit that mold, right? Now with you, were you ever under the pressure of, you've got to look chiseled superstar? Yeah?
Yeah, but the thing is, and you know, a lot of people will judge me, and I'm sure even people that watch this will say I'm full of shit.
That's okay.
Okay. I'm full of shit about it, but you know, there's a reason why I look the way I look. And it's not because I don't work hard. It's not because I didn't try to lose weight. It's not because I didn't work out or any of that stuff. I've just never been a guy who had a lot of, who was like cut and skinny. Even when I was younger, and I mentioned earlier I was 11, but people thought I was 7 or 8. I was pudgy back then. And it's not because I don't try. This is just the way I am. Like, I want to say part of it is genetics, even though it kind of sounds like an excuse, but you know, if you look at me, people call me fat, and that's fine. I don't
doesn't
care.
bother you?
No, it doesn't. But if anything, the only thing that bothers me about it is what it does to my family when they see it. Because I'll see my son say, oh, I see people call you fat on the internet, and it doesn't matter. You know, I try to make sure that he understands that it really doesn't affect me. But it upsets him, you know. Yeah. But anyway, so I forgot my train of thought there, but I was, you know, people call me fat. Yeah. It's really just my stomach. You know what I mean? I carry a lot of weight in my stomach, but everything else, I'm not fat. So my grandfather had a huge gut his whole life, and I'm talking huge. My dad is 150 pounds, but as soon as he eats something, it blows up here.
Oh, wow.
I just think that's just how our genetics are, and it's very hard. And, you know, there are times where I remember in 2010 maybe, I was at my biggest. I was 291 pounds. And there's no doubt I was out of shape. I'll never deny it. And I lost about 40 pounds. I went down to 250.
I know, I had to change your weight.
And I still had a gut. And this is what, you know what I mean? And there are times when I was working out like crazy, and my arms would look fine, my shoulders were good, my legs were good, but I had a gut. It's just the way it is. So, you know, I would always hear that, yeah, you're great, or whatever. I don't want to say I'm great, because I certainly don't think I'm great. But I've heard people tell me, you're great at wrestling, you're great at promos, but your look will always be what plays against you. And I always kind of accepted it as me just needing to work harder in the ring. And I think I could put my work in the ring up against anybody. And I'm not saying, like you mentioned Rey Mysterio. I don't have the ability Rey Mysterio has. I would never claim to. You know, he overcame that obstacle of being short and being smaller by being one of the two best wrestlers in the world. Yeah. Like, I can't pick him or Shawn. I can't decide who's the best, in my opinion, of all time. So, but I don't have that ability. I just found other ways to be noticed. Like, I remember I was always pretty vocal, but then I met Steve. I've told this story many times. I met Steve Austin in an airport in 2005 when I was going to a show, and I asked him for advice. And the one piece of advice he gave me was to always run my mouth and never stop running my mouth. Yeah. And I took that to heart. That's true. And I think I became very good at talking and communicating. And as far as the in-ring stuff, I always put on pretty good matches, but I'd find ways for my matches to stick out from the rest on the independent scene. And I never claimed to have the best match every night, but I always knew that I wanted people to walk away remembering my match. Yeah. Not necessarily because it was the best, but because there was a moment in that match that made them like, man, that moment was memorable, it was crazy, I remember it. So I always applied that mindset, and you know, it got me here. Yeah. Which I don't know how many people would have bet for me to be here. And you know,
does that feel good that people probably bet for you not to be here and you made it?
It should, right? But it doesn't. It doesn't give me, no, I don't. Like, so the people that didn't bet for me, that weren't behind me, I didn't care. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, there's a lot, and I'm sure people watching this that have followed my career can name a couple people that wouldn't have bet on me and have told me you're not going to make it this way. And you'd think that, oh, it's vindication. And I guess there is some vindication, but it doesn't make me feel better. Like, once now I'm here, I'm not thinking about those people anymore. I left them in the dirt already. Mm-hmm. I'm just thinking of what's next, you know?
This is Chasing Glory with Lilian Garcia.
You heard a lot of the superstars talking about the pains that they go through, what they put their bodies through, right, to entertain all of us. Well, I want to tell you about something. If you're experiencing pain out there, whether it be on your body like arthritis or muscle pain from working out, or if you're having a pain inside, and what I mean by that is like your heart, from depression, from anxiety, from not sleeping very well, all of these things can be very, very helped by using CBD. CBD comes in tinctures, oils, nibbles, cookie doughs, spices, a lot of forms, whether it's even the roll-on. And this is a company called Cured Nutrition. They are from Colorado. It's hemp-derived, so it also doesn't have any of those psychoactive components. So it doesn't hinder whether you're with your kids or you're working or anything like that. It just calms you. It calms you and lets you be able to focus better away from panicking or the anxieties or the depression that you're feeling. Cured Nutrition, check them out. They have so many ways that you can enjoy these CBD products. And one of the products that I was just mentioning was for your muscles. I want to tell you, my mother really suffers from arthritis. I'm sure you know somebody out there that suffers from arthritis, or someone that's at the gym all the time that is hurting, right? They work out so hard that their muscles are aching. Well, I want to let you know about the product that they have, their newest one. It is the Balm, and it is the Balm. Get it? It's the Balm, B-A-L-M. I can't even spell it. B-A-L-M, but it's the Balm as in B-O-M-B. Okay, let me tell you about it. So it's kind of like a roll-on. So easy. You don't even touch your hands with the icky products like you do with some of those other creams. So with this, like my mom with her back hurts, she just twists it, she puts it on her back, and she never has to touch the products because it's very dangerous if you touch those products and then touch your eyes by any chance. Man, that hurts bad. So the Balm is really good. And like I said, the spices are great. The oils are great. Try them out. Everybody here, all my Chasing Glory listeners, you're going to get 15% off your entire order. And it doesn't matter if you use this multiple times, you can repeat that 15% off. It's the promo code GLORY. Very simple to remember, GLORY. So curednutrition.com, promo code GLORY. curednutrition.com, promo code GLORY. You will be thanking me for this. And something else that I feel really helps, if you've heard me talk about meditation. Now, how many of you hear the word meditation and go, ugh, boring? Or I'm not going to stop and just meditate like some guru with his hands out and hum. Okay, meditation has come a long ways. Yes, there is that form of meditation, but there's also the form of meditation where you can even take in 5 minutes. Even 5 minutes will help you. How about that? Because some people go, I don't have time to put aside for meditation. But I'm sure everybody out there has got 5 minutes. 5 minutes guided meditation. So let me tell you about Simple Habit. It's a new app that I just came across because I meditate every morning, and I'm always looking for speakers that I like, people that I really love to hear their voices, messages that I love, things that really penetrate to my heart, which is why I love these guided meditations. Well, Simple Habit has that. SimpleHabit.com. Hundreds of meditations available for free, and there's also thousands with a premium. I'll tell you all about that in a minute. But first, I just want to let you know about the 100+ experts that are on there. There's such a variety, whether you want the female voice or the male voice. You can find something on there that works for you because, like I said, it's very specific to different, whether you're dealing with having trouble sleeping, or you want to wake up in full blast, or you want to know how to get rid of being triggered, or you want to deal with depression. So all of these, they have a filter in there, and you tell them exactly what you're looking for, and the filter will then tell you, okay, these meditations are the best for you, taking into account what you just put in. They actually have 65,000 reviews. All right, that's 65,000 people that are giving it the stamp of approval. So they've already done the work for you, right? Because it's great. Like when you go on Yelp and you try to find what do people say in the reviews, well, that's really good. 65,000 plus with a 5-star review. You can get it on iOS or on Android. Check it out. All my Chasing Glory listeners, this is amazing. all you have to do is go to simplehabit.com/glory to get an offer of 30% off the premium subscription. All right, now that's 30% off your premium subscription because like I said, you have hundreds that are available for free, but then you also have the premium. But just go on there and you can select whether you want the free or the premium. Check it out, simplehabit.com/glory. That's where you go, simplehabit.com/glory. Then you will download the app from there. Go straight there so that way it also helps the show and they can it lets them know that you heard it here first. All right, so simplehabit.com/glory, and then you can download the app from there. Enjoy it. You will be thanking me for this. All right, now back to Kevin Owens.
Now, more Chasing Glory with Lilian Garcia.
Well, I know one thing, that when I saw you come up, sure enough, I mean, the first thing was like, wow, he doesn't look like the typical superstar.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I also thought, I was like, this is actually good because it's showing, diversification and what you can do, and that it doesn't all have to look one way. And I think more and more, here we are in 2019, I think we're starting to see that the world doesn't have to look one way.
Yeah, I think that's clear, right? The world has changed so much in the last, when I was 10, I wasn't conscious of how the world was. But once you start, you're 15, 16, and as you get older, like I remember what the world used to be like even 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and it's mind-blowing. And, I'll often hear people say, oh, the world's too sensitive now, and then people get offended too easily, and this and that. But I actually kind of disagree. If anything, I think now is better than it's ever been, because that's probably how we should have always been. Right. Because even when I was coming up in wrestling, I would hear people use terms that if they used today, they would be, and dare I say, I've used those terms too, and I'm ashamed of it. But back then, it wasn't even a second thought that it mattered.
Right.
But my God, it did. Of course it did. And you only realize this now, and I guess part of it's maturity, right? Now I'm 35. I'm not a dumbass 20-year-old kid, but I should have known better back then too.
Yeah.
But the society has evolved to the point where now we know better.
Except social media. Because I think a lot of people
well, that's because the cover yes, you're hiding. Media. Yes. But, and look, some people will probably say I'm wrong and they disagree and freedom of speech and all this shit. But I disagree. I'm not saying freedom of speech is not important, but I think there are lines that shouldn't be crossed.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I think we should treat each other with respect.
Yes, exactly. But social media is a great point. People will say anything under the cover of, I'm actually dealing with something right now where I'm being harassed by one specific person. And I've reported him to Twitter, and his account's gotten banned. But he always comes back. And last time I reported him, Twitter said there was no violation. And I thought that was so ridiculous, because one of their things is harassment. Yeah. And he's harassing me nonstop. And what he's saying is not just against my character as a wrestler. Like, he's saying I should get cancer, my kids should see me die, stuff like that.
Jeez.
And somehow that's okay.
Yeah, it's not okay.
Which is wild.
Right.
But that's just social media. You know what I mean? Anybody can say anything they want. And most times, a lot of people just get away with it scot-free.
I know. That's what kills me, is that we're better in the PC, like being more respectful to each other and not saying anything, even in the Me Too movement, all of that, right? It's like women are not going to get treated like they were before. Right. There's been a big aha, right? You don't treat women like that. But now on social media, I'm like, okay, we need to control that, because I feel like that's where the storm is. Mm-hmm. That's where people are like, oh yeah, well then what I can't say out loud, this is what I'm going to type away. A lot of,
and it sucks because social media has become such a huge part of everybody's lives.
Yeah.
Or not everybody, but most people's lives.
Yes.
The solution's probably just not using it. And, I'm saying this now, and I work for WWE, who uses social media better than anybody else probably. And it's such a huge part of getting it to people that, not necessarily everyone has access to WWE programming across the world, but everybody's got access to the internet, stuff like that. So it's so important. But I struggle myself. I wonder, maybe it's better to just not be on social media, because if that's what I deal with, and I'll have these, I used to be very active on Twitter, and I used to enjoy it. But that's gone down drastically because of my interaction with people like the guy I was referring to now. But there's, you know, it's just one of many, many, many people who ultimately, you know, this guy, I'm sure I met him in real life. If I met him in real life, he would sing a different tune. But he doesn't know who I am.
Right.
And so many people just...
They see their character, your character.
But even with, yeah, right. But even without that, I think it just comes down a lot of times to people that are unhappy in their lives. And as cliche as it sounds, I really do think it's true. You're unhappy in your life. I don't know. You want to get a rise out of something, somewhere, somebody, somewhere, just to feel like you matter, maybe. And then that's when you go online, and some people will claim that no, it's just it makes me laugh to see people get riled up. But man, if you're doing that in real life, like that's your source of entertainment, is upsetting people in real life.
I know.
You know what I mean? I'm a professional wrestler, and most of my career has been about riling people up. But I do it at the shows that they paid to come to let loose.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even at shows, some people will cross the line. But most times people are just having a great time. And like I've had fans tell me, oh, you know, they'll send me tweets after a show saying, hey, sorry if I got under your skin too much, but I was just really enjoying it. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, if you're telling me that I suck, and I go up to you and I start arguing with you, it's not because you're getting under my skin.
Yeah.
It's because I want you to have as much fun as you can, and I see that you're already into it, so I'll go get more out of you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
you love playing a heel?
I mean, I just love performing. I love playing a heel.
It seems like you love it more than babyface.
Actually, I can't say that that's true.
No? Okay.
Well, only because I've been a heel for so long now. I personally am ready for something different. Mm-hmm. And I also would love to see how successful I can be as a babyface. Selfishly, or not selfishly, but I guess my ego tells me I'd be great.
I agree.
But, you know, I got a tiny taste of it.
Yeah.
And then, for reasons beyond my control, for what the show needed, I had to go back the other way. And I'm trying to make that as good as I can. But I still have this need to find out if I'm right.
So there you go. Right now, you just said a pathway. You just said what you want, the more. The more, for right now, that nugget is so priceless, because the more is, okay, I want to succeed as a babyface.
That's probably, you might be right. And I think I literally verbalized that to people before, that's what I'd like to do now. Okay. I want to see if I'm right. So maybe that is my goal. I'm saying, you know, it could be short term or it could be long term, but maybe that is the goal now, because that's one thing that I haven't achieved yet. You know?
And it gives you a pathway, right? Because that's what you need. Mm-hmm. And so if you have a pathway and then you experiment that, I mean, look at Jericho's perfect example. The guy was a heel, then he's a babyface, and the heels, you know, going back and forth and showing the two sides that he can play both sides. Yeah. Totally play both sides. You and him were so great together.
And it's something I didn't enjoy anywhere as much as I should have.
That.
Oh, yeah.
You said that.
Yeah, now I look back on so many moments Chris and I had, and man, those moments were incredible. But in that moment, now that's the good thing though. I can look back and realize how great it was and almost like enjoy it now.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I can tell you I wasn't enjoying it. I was worried about next week already. I remember one specific moment that we did together. It was in Toronto. It was the night after Survivor Series, and we did this promo segment where we were blaming each other, or seemingly we were blaming each other for the loss the night before.
Yeah.
And then we both blurted out it was Roman Reigns' fault. That moment might be the only moment of my whole thing with Chris where I actually stopped to enjoy it, because it was so great.
And the crowd just went crazy.
And then, but that's the only moment I would tell you that of all the stuff I did with Chris that I remember enjoying at that night and sitting there and going, man, this was great. Even the Festival of Friendship, which was like a moment that people still talk about, and I feel like people are going to talk about for decades. It was incredible. But the moment, like maybe 5 minutes after it happened, I was already talking to somebody about next week's Raw. Like, okay, well, next week now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just never let it sit.
You gotta break this habit. It's a habit.
It's very hard.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Kevin, it's a habit. I think it's that simple, where you've put yourself in this habit of more, and what next. But I think you just need to, when you go to talk to somebody, you need to be like, nope, not gonna happen.
Yeah. And you know, I feel for the people too. Like, so many people here will listen to me and talk to me about it. And like, I know they're busy and I know they're trying to, like, they have other stuff to worry about for the show. And sometimes I'm talking to them as the show's going on now, but I'm already talking about next week. And I'll text them during the week. And, you know, the people that are watching this that I'm talking about will know who I'm talking about. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys know that. I know I'm not easy to deal with. And I know when it's Friday and it's your only day off and you're trying to relax, having me text you about TV this week is very annoying. But yeah, you're right. I should stop.
Just stop.
Yeah.
But you got to stop yourself.
Yeah, that's it. Because that's the thing. The people around me are never, like, those people are never going to tell me I can't do this right now. Because a lot of them, most of them are as passionate as I am about what we're doing. You know what I mean? And they want to make next week great. So they're almost like me, but they have so many other things to worry about that they do at one point have to shut it off. And you know what I mean?
Right.
But, you know, of course, I'm always worried about myself. And then, you know, every performer is the same way, right? Everybody's worried about their own thing. And sometimes I'll have ideas for other people and I'll try to, you know, give them to people and see if it happens. But most, you know, you're a performer, you're worried about your own performance. While, you know, other people that I deal with, that I talk to about this stuff, they have the entire scope of the show on their shoulders. So
I think what can happen too, if you let it breathe, if you don't just go into attack next week and you absorb what just happened and you let it breathe for at least just a day.
Yeah.
Okay, try that. Like, just let it breathe. Then what you were going to say immediately right after the match is not going to be as brilliant as what you will say the next day.
It can be very different. And, you know, I've had those moments where I felt a certain way right after a performance or a match or a promo or whatever, and think, oh, man, I should have done this instead, or I should have said that instead. And then the next day I'm like, it worked out fine, you know? Or sometimes I'm like, I was right, you know? But taking a step back and giving it time to breathe, like you said, is important.
Oh, that's cute.
But again, it's you know, it's funny because it's all stuff I know, but it's just very difficult to do.
Because you said, I remember in that interview, you talked about how when there's situations, negative situations or something, you always tell everybody else, look at the silver lining.
Yes, I'm very good at telling other people what I should be doing. Yeah, Becky Lynch is a great example. I remember, you know, for a while she was spinning her wheels. And I would see her in the hallway and she would look like she wasn't having a great day. And I'd ask her what's up and she'd tell me and I'd be like, hey, just keep your head up because eventually you're going to be on top. And I never had any doubt.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was right. Obviously, she made it happen on her own completely. Like, what happened to her was organic. Nobody decided she's the one.
Right.
They just gave her an opportunity. She killed it.
Yeah.
But I just always saw that in her. And, you know, I've seen it in so many performers. And I'm really good at telling people, hey, man, just put your head down, push through, it'll all be fine. And you'll see, and, you know, but I'm not good at applying it for myself.
So maybe what I feel like you need to do is have two different yous. And what I mean by that, like, step outside of yourself and literally talk to yourself, but as a third party.
Yeah.
So that you can try to apply the same thing. I know it takes, all of this takes work.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
What about your kids, your son, for example?
Yeah.
Like, what are you seeing that he's picking up from you? And what are you seeing? Like, how is he handling this whole thing, you being on the road and being a superstar?
He's pretty incredible about it, you know. So he's been used to it, right? Because he was born and I was already on the road doing independence and I was working my actual job at the time too. So I would be away from home. You know, I would come home every night, like 4 days a week, right? Because I was working my regular job, but then I'd be on the road 3-4 days at the same time. So he's always kind of been in that situation. So he's not, you know, he'll tell me he misses me and stuff, but he understands. And, you know, I try to take him with me as much as I can. Like, when summer hits, I took him last week with me to Sacramento, and you know, we did like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we were together and stuff like that. He's really great. He's very supportive. It's getting harder on my daughter now because she's 5 and she notices when I'm gone more. And, you know, thankfully, I really can't imagine how they kept in touch back in the day. But now, you know, we have FaceTime and all that stuff.
God, yeah.
It's a godsend in a way because it's the next best thing to being there.
Right.
But it's definitely harder on me since I had those 5 months off to recover at home and being home every night with them, waking up next to my wife every morning, going to bed next to her every night, taking my kids to school every morning, and then now I'm back to only being able to do that 3 times a week, stuff like that. It's a lot harder on me, but my family's still incredible. They just they have always been. My wife, even when I was chasing this dream and it seemed so unlikely. And I remember I was working at a gas station and I was wrestling. And then we had a child. And our heating got cut because we couldn't pay it. Mm-hmm. So we had no hot water, no heat. And it was April, so it wasn't terribly cold outside, but still, April, the nights get cold sometimes, and we're in Canada. So she never once told me you gotta stop and you gotta get a better job that pays better, because I worked at a gas station and I worked at a warehouse, and they weren't great paying jobs, but they were very considerate with me needing Friday, Saturday, Sunday off because I gotta go to wrestle. Right. They were fine with that, you know. So I was working these jobs that weren't paying great because I was able to chase the dream at the same time. Not once did she ask me to stop that, when she probably could have, because that probably would have been the adult thing to do.
Yeah.
But I never had to become an adult because she was always so supportive. And it's the same thing, if my kids were telling me every single week that it's too hard when I'm gone, it would make this a lot harder. But they're very supportive, and they I guess that's a part of what I'm chasing too, is I remember the moment I got home after winning the Universal title and going up the stairs to my apartment and opening the door, and my wife was there and my son was there. My daughter at the time was a bit younger, so she really didn't. But my son and my wife knew this was a huge deal for me.
Yeah.
But it was just so great to take the title out and give it to my son and just share that moment with them. And then going to my parents' house and seeing my dad and my mom, I guess I chased that more than anything, is to make them proud. That really is the reward. I guess I might be having an epiphany here, but that might be the ultimate goal.
That's what happens.
And
here.
look, they would tell you right now that I am making them proud every day, and I know that.
Yeah.
But again,
you need to lighten on yourself.
Yeah.
Kevin.
But yeah, it's a whole,
Because I think you are trying to, like you just said, you're having the epiphany of, that's my goal. You've already made them proud.
Yeah,
So now it's time to have fun.
Yeah.
I think you've checked off all the boxes, seriously, that somebody could have. And now it's like, all right, let me go have fun. Let me breathe. Let certain things sit for a little bit. And let's not harass. Don't you be the harasser to the people that write. They're going to be like, we need to turn this guy in. Yeah. But I think it is ultimately, if you have fun at things, and I've had to learn how to do this myself, because type A personality, perfectionist, all of this. And at one point somebody was just like, are you having fun? I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm so stressed out and I'm doing this and that. And finally I was like, yeah, why am I doing all of this if it's not fun? Mm-hmm. Right? And I switched it, made it fun. And now so many more things are popping up. Mm-hmm. So you've already proven all your things. Your family loves you. You can't make them more proud than they already are. Yeah. Go see about being the baby face.
Yeah.
That should make it more fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of this. I guess that's part of what I get hung up on, is I don't know if I'll get that chance.
Oh, don't say that.
No, but you know what I'm saying?
You can't block that.
Yeah.
You can't block that.
Right.
Just go make it happen.
Sure.
Tell them, you want me to lighten up?
Yeah.
Let me be a baby face.
Maybe I just need to start texting Vince at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Well, he'll still be up, though. He's awake working at that time. It won't bother him that much.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, if Shawn Michaels was coming to you with this exact problem, or I wouldn't say problem, but just your realization, what would you tell him?
Yeah, I would tell him everything that you were saying, which is what makes sense. I mean, yeah.
Because if you knew, what's crazy is when I was watching that 365, all of a sudden I hear my voice, and it's because I'm announcing WrestleMania 24, and you said you were in the stands.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Me and Sammy Sammy and my wife were together in the stands for that one. Yeah.
That's insane. So you're in the stands, and Shawn Michaels, you said, was he in that one?
Yeah, he wrestled Ric Flair in the retirement
match. That's right, okay. That was the retirement match, yes. Forgive me that I'm not the encyclopedia
Oh,
that knows what happened.
I feel like you've announced a few shows in your time, so.
Just a few, I cannot, like, who was it? Howard Finkel always blew my mind,
Yeah.
the encyclopedia that he was. But, you know, that's the thing is, if Shawn Michaels, if you knew that he was experiencing that, like, not enjoying that moment with Ric Flair, like, what a match, what a moment. And yeah, of course it's bittersweet because it's the retirement match. But if you knew that, you'd probably look in there going, what?
That moment, yes, I probably would tell him. But at that time, I'm sure, and I bet, you know, and maybe I'll see Shawn eventually and ask him. But I'm sure that at that time, he was able to enjoy. Because this was after he came back from his back injury, and he had already been back for a few years. So I'm sure at that time, he was able to put things in perspective and just enjoy it, right? But if Shawn told me that WrestleMania 12, when he won the WWE title, the next night he was back to being, like he wanted more, he wanted to do things differently because he thought it could be better or he could be different or it could be more compelling, whatever, I probably wouldn't tell him, oh, come on, man, you were the WWE champion, won it at WrestleMania. I would probably say, oh, yeah, I totally get it. You're right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I have the same, so... I don't know, but it's perspective, and it's keeping
That's all it
perspective
is.
and balance on everything. Yeah.
It's okay to want more.
Yeah.
It's okay to want more, but when it's all encompassing and that's all you focus on, and you can't have this,
it's counterproductive at the same time.
Exactly.
For sure.
So just balance.
Yeah, I'll work on it.
All right. Well, I appreciate you being open. I appreciate you spending the time here to talk about it.
Thanks for having me. It was really fun.
So many questions about all this. And I was going to say is, I mean, I always love to ask this question: has your chase for glory looked the way you thought it was going to look?
I can't say that it did, just because I literally had no idea what it would ever look like. I just had a vision of me, you know, from when it started when I was 11 to you know, the whole time, except for when, well, not even then, right? I always had this vision of me in WWE. And I didn't really know how successful I would be once I got into this environment, but I always kind of knew I could make it, regardless of how many times people told me I didn't look the part, all this stuff, right? And at one point I kind of accepted that, oh, maybe there's another way to make a great career in wrestling and make a good living and not get to WWE, but that was always my wish. It was always what I wanted. But I just never saw the clear path to it. You know, like I never saw myself going to Japan like I did. And I never saw myself, you know, being on the independent scene for 15 years before I got there.
Yeah, that's a long time.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, I really wouldn't change a single thing. Like if somebody told me, yeah, but wouldn't you prefer if you had signed in 2005 and you had already been, you know, but I'd say no, because I guarantee that if I had signed back then, when I was already at that point wrestling for 5 years and, you know, I wouldn't say seasoned or a veteran or anything like that, but I was already pretty aware of what I was doing, and I knew what I was doing. Mm-hmm. There's no chance I would have succeeded to the level I have so far. And not even because of how different it was back then in terms of what the performers look like, what the wrestlers look like, all this stuff, but just because of my ability and my maturity level as a performer. Like, there's no way. So I think I never really saw, like, I really never envisioned a path, a clear path to it. But I wouldn't change anything about the path that I took.
I think that's very smart, because it got you more ready.
Yeah, and you know, not even just as a wrestler, but as a human being and as now a husband, a father, a son, all this stuff, just me. You know, I met so many people along the way that I wouldn't have met if things had gone differently.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really couldn't never change anything. Like, there's, you know, one guy I met in 2005 or 2004, he was a wrestler, his name was Super Dragon. He was the first guy who started using me and Sammy for wrestling in California. So first time I ever came to LA was to wrestle for them. And I ended up wrestling for them for from 2004 all the way up until I signed with WWE. If I hadn't met him, I guarantee I wouldn't be who I am as a wrestler now. Because he influenced me. And it's funny because I only kind of realized that recently, how heavily influenced I was by him as a wrestler.
Yeah.
Even though it's clear, like, I think back on it now and I'm like, man, I was influenced by him from 2005 on. But it only dawned on me now because a few weeks ago I did an interview with somebody asked me who were your biggest influences as a wrestler. And my answers were always Shawn Michaels, Steve Austin, and Steve Corino. And then it dawned like, oh wait, Super Dragon. Because I literally do things that I've seen him do. And he doesn't wrestle anymore. But I remember seeing him do things in the ring that I do now. Yeah. And they're not even conscious. It's never like I thought, oh, I'm going to do what Super Dragon does. It's awesome. But I remember it's just because I remember it's in my subconscious, you know. I saw him do it and I thought, man, that's great. And now I do it without even thinking because it became part of who I am too. So if I had never met him, I bet things would have ended up very differently for me. Or if I had never gotten to NXT at the point that I did and didn't get to work with Dusty Rhodes, for example, I'm sure things would have ended up differently as well.
Yeah.
So I really can't take any of it.
What a journey you've had.
Yeah.
What a journey.
Well, you put it that way, yeah. When you go over it for an hour,
right?
It is quite a journey.
It is. Now you can go, come on, you got to pat yourself in the back sometime. You have to along the ride. Or you're going to do all of this for absolutely nothing if you can't enjoy the ride, you know, and just be like, I did that. Yes, yes, it's great. Okay, so as we wrap this up, WrestleMania for next year, because I know you weren't at WrestleMania this year. Mm-hmm. Why? Because you were healthy. No answers?
You got to ask somebody else.
No creatives.
You got to ask somebody else, not me.
How frustrating was that for you? And now what's the goal for next WrestleMania?
I really can't put into words how frustrated it was. I mean, I couldn't even go to the show. I flew home that morning, so I came Saturday.
Yeah, because we were supposed to do our interview during that time.
Yeah, so I came Saturday to Access, which is when I was, you know, everybody was home. Everybody was in town all week to do it. Yeah. And I begged Talent Relations to let me go home, and I'll come back to do Access. You know, don't fly me there Thursday when I don't have anything to do Friday. And they're like, okay. So I flew myself. I landed in New York at maybe 1 a.m. Saturday morning. I had Access at like 10 a.m. Saturday. And then I came back after Access and I was sitting in my hotel room and I didn't have anything until Monday morning for another Access session. And I was just dreading the next day. And, you know, my family's usually with me at WrestleMania. Now they weren't. They were home. I wasn't with them. And it felt like you know, they were excited. They're always like to get excited about WrestleMania. Now this year they didn't get to do it, and I'm like, man, I really just wanted to be with them, so I just flew home. Yeah. And I spent Sunday with them. We watched WrestleMania, and then Monday morning, first thing I did is get on a flight and come back to do my Access session. So I avoided WrestleMania.
Probably the best thing for your mind.
I guess so. I mean, there's no doubt because I was with my wife and my kids were, you know, if I hadn't been with them, I would have been losing my mind here, looking at other people getting ready. Right. So yeah, but it was very... Does
that make you hungry now for next Mania?
You know, it does, right? But not more than usual. Here's why, because I've lived through not being on WrestleMania now. And as weird as it sounds, it should probably make me go like, next year, I'm going to be on it no matter what. And I do have that mindset. But at the same time, I guess that's perspective is if I'm not on it, I'll live.
I was going to say you survived.
Exactly.
You survived.
Yes.
So sometimes it's the biggest blessing.
Yeah.
You know why too? Because I remember you talking about how those other 2 WrestleManias, you couldn't even enjoy them that much.
I mean, yeah, I've had 3 and I barely,
3? Yeah.
I mean, I remember, I can say though, I enjoyed the first one. The first one was incredible.
With the tag team?
No, that one was a ladder match with,
yes.
That one was incredible. But then the next one was the one with Jericho, where I came back from the match, myself a bit unhappy, and then Vince, the whole thing, right? And then the next one was with Daniel Bryan and Shane, and that I wish had been more to, like, you know.
Even though Steve Austin texted you saying how great it was.
That was at SummerSlam. Yeah, that was from SummerSlam with AJ. But it's all, you know, it's all part of it. You know, it's. I mean, you could really interchange. Even SummerSlam's a huge deal, and not enjoying those moments too. Yeah. But you know, I survived, and
I was going to say, now you not being on it maybe is the biggest blessing. Because it gives you a different perspective going into the next Mania.
I certainly wouldn't call it a blessing, but it does give me
silver
perspective.
lining.
Exactly. Let's call it that. Yes, there we go.
You know what I mean.
Yeah,
right?
no, but you're right. Silver lining is.
Be. Guess what? You'll get to look back and say whether it's a blessing or not. Because some of the things that happen to us that we see as negative and all of that turn out to be the biggest blessings. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
I'm pulling for you, and I
Thanks,
can't
I
wait to see
appreciate it.
baby face Kevin Owens.
Thank you.
Chasing Glory with Lilian Garcia.
Wow, what a journey this man has had, and a few of those revelations that he had during the interview. That's why I love having conversations. It is when you speak things out loud that sometimes you can resolve what's going on inside and why some of the feelings that you're having, what's going on with them. So the fact that he's really just wanting to make his family proud, I hope you know, Kevin, by now that you have made them proud. And I hope that they're going to be listening to this and really taking it in. And I just hope that your continued journey fills you, because you're doing something tremendous out there with your talent. And it's only going to be sweeter when you can really take it in and enjoy it. Like I said, enjoy the journey. We always hear that, right? Enjoy the journey. Dude, I was just like you for so long, not necessarily living in the moment. And so now it really is about living in the moment, and it's okay. People out there, listen to this. It's okay to pat yourself on the back when you've done something. You can always want more. That's all right. But stop and just be like, yes, be proud of yourself, especially if you do something really good, something very nice for others. Then yeah, stop for a moment and go, wow, I did that, and feel good about that. And then keep doing more of that. All right, so make sure that you spread this interview. Let your friends know all about it. 5-star ratings, continue those. Thank you so much for those. Appreciate it. Keep subscribing. Also, check it out on YouTube, youtube.com/Lilian Garcia. We always post the interviews up on there as well. Okay, until next week, go out there and live with much peace, love, and passion. And remember to always be yourself and trust that it's enough. Bye, guys.
Thanks for joining us here on Chasing Glory from executive producer Lilian Garcia. Don't forget to share this episode with your friends, and be sure to subscribe at Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your favorite shows.